When we think about saving our forests, the problem seems so simple, and the solution seems so obvious. But what if I told you that the most common solution, the one we all kind of believe in, might actually be a dangerous distraction? Today, we're going to dig into why just planting more trees is nowhere near the whole story, and what the real, and frankly, much more interesting solutions look like.
Yeah, this image right here, this is the poster child for deforestation, isn't it? That stark, brutal line between a living, breathing forest and just nothing. It hits you right in the gut. And it is, for sure, a massive part of the problem.
And when you see something like that, your brain immediately goes to the simple fix. Well, if trees are gone, let's just plant new ones. Problem solved. It feels so intuitive, so right. But, as we're about to find out, that simple answer misses a huge, and I mean absolutely critical, piece of the puzzle.
Okay, so here's the first big mindset shift we need to make. We have to stop thinking just about the quantity of trees, the total area of tree cover. The real crisis, the one that's flying under the radar, is all about the quality of the forest that's left. And that brings us to this super important idea, forest degradation.
So what is forest degradation? Well, it's when the biological wealth, that's all the different plants, animals, fungi, the whole complex web of life, is permanently wiped out or diminished. Think of it like this. The forest is like a city. The trees are the buildings. Degradation is when the city is still standing, but all the people, the art, the businesses, they're all gone. It's become a ghost town. The structure is there, but the life has vanished.
Let's put them side by side, because this is really the key. Deforestation is easy to see. The forest area is literally gone. But with degradation, the forest is still technically there, but it's been hollowed out. It's sick, it's less healthy, it has way fewer species, and that intricate web of life is just broken. It's a much quieter crisis, but it can be just as devastating.
And this whole idea of quality over quantity leads us right to our next point, which is not all forests are created equal, not even close. The difference between a real, ancient, wild forest and a modern tree plantation is just night and day. Understanding this is everything. Just look at this contrast. On one side, you have an old-growth forest. It's a complex, messy, beautiful ecosystem that's had hundreds of years to perfect itself. It's bursting with biodiversity, it's a champion at storing carbon, and it knows how to handle a drought. Then, on the other side, you have a tree plantation. Let's be honest, it's not a forest, it's a crop, a monoculture of identical trees all in neat rows. It has very low biodiversity, and as we're now learning, it's way more fragile and sensitive to a changing climate.
And hey, this isn't just a romantic idea. The science is crystal clear. A 2024 study put it in really simple terms. Old-growth forests are just flat-out better at their job. For every drop of water they use, they create more life, more biomass than a planted forest does. They're just these incredibly efficient, resilient, natural machines.
And this is what's really at stake. It's not just about losing trees that we can easily replace. We're losing ancient, living systems, entire worlds that have been balancing our climate and supporting countless species for centuries. Once something like this is gone, you can't just plant a few saplings and expect to get it back. You just can't.
Okay, so if the big, scary problem is the degradation of these vital, ancient forests, what's causing it? The story we often hear points the finger at things like small-scale farmers clearing land. But the evidence is starting to tell a very, very different story about who the main culprit is, especially in our most precious forests.
And here it is. This is the big reveal that changes everything. According to research from groups like the WWF, the single biggest driver of degradation in the planet's most biodiverse, most important forests is the international timber trade. It's not the small-scale stuff. It's large-scale, industrial, commercial logging that is doing the most damage where it matters most.
So how does this play out? Well, it's kind of a triple threat. First, these logging companies go straight for the oldest, biggest, most valuable trees, which just so happen to be the ecological cornerstones of the whole forest. Second, a huge amount of this logging is straight up illegal, ignoring national parks and protected areas. And third, and this is the real kicker, they build roads. And these logging roads act like highways, opening up pristine, untouched forests to everyone else, which just kicks off a whole new cycle of destruction.
All right, so if industrial logging is a huge part of the problem, what about the solutions we're sold every day? Buying wood with that little sustainable sticker on it, or the idea of burning wood for green energy? Well, this is where the story gets really murky, because it turns out these so-called solutions might actually be making things worse. So first, let's talk about those certification labels, like the FSC logo you see on everything from paper to furniture.
The promise is amazing, right? It's a simple stamp of approval that tells you, the consumer, hey, don't worry, this product came from a well-managed forest. It's designed to use the power of the market to reward the good guys.
But here's the reality check. Critics have pointed out a whole list of massive failures. For one, these schemes are totally voluntary. There's no law behind them. The standards themselves often have giant loopholes. And the audits, get this, the companies being inspected are the ones paying the inspectors. You can imagine the conflict of interest there. But maybe the single biggest problem is that the immense power of multinational corporations just completely drowns out the voices of the local and indigenous communities who actually live in and depend on these forests.
And look, don't just take my word for it. The European Commission itself studied the impact of these labels and came to a pretty brutal conclusion. They said that, on their own, these voluntary schemes have simply not been able to prevent deforestation, period.
So, if the labels are flawed, what about that other big green solution we hear about? Bioenergy. The whole idea of burning wood pellets in power plants to make electricity. It's sold to us as this amazing, renewable, climate-friendly way to get off fossil fuels.
But here's the crazy, uncomfortable truth. Take a look at this. For the same amount of energy, burning wood can actually pump more CO2 into the atmosphere than burning coal. Yeah, you heard that right. Data from one of the UK's biggest power plants showed that its emissions from burning biomass were significantly higher than when it was burning coal.
So you're probably thinking, how in the world can they call this carbon neutral? Well, it's all based on a really dangerous accounting loophole. They basically ignore the carbon pouring out of the smokestack today by claiming that, hey, sometime in the future, new trees will grow and soak it all back up. But sometime could mean decades or even a century from now. We are dumping more carbon into the air right now in the middle of a climate crisis when we need to be cutting it. We just don't have that kind of time.
So, if the feel-good labels and the so-called green energy are actually false solutions, where does that leave us? What does real change actually look like? Well, the sources are pretty clear. We have to move past these voluntary promises and market-based schemes and get serious about real, binding action.
So what are these real solutions? The research points to 3 huge shifts. Number 1, make due diligence mandatory. That means companies would be legally required to prove their products and supply chains aren't tied to deforestation. No more excuses. Number 2, governments have to use their own purchasing power. Pass laws that forbid using taxpayer money to buy anything linked to deforestation. And number 3, and this is the big one, we need a systemic shift. We have to move money and subsidies away from destructive industrial logging and port it into supporting community-led forest management, which we know actually works.
And all of this is part of a bigger, more hopeful idea called agroecology. Really what it means is changing our whole relationship with the land, moving away from just extracting resources and towards regenerating them. It's all about focusing on rebuilding healthy soil, respecting the rights of the local communities who know the land best, and finally learning how to work with nature instead of just fighting against it.
So, we've seen that the simple story of just plant a tree is dangerously incomplete. And we've seen how the sustainable labels we've been taught to trust can be deeply misleading. So that leaves us with a much bigger, much more important question to think about. If a simple sticker on a product isn't enough, what does real responsibility for our planet's forest actually look like?